Welcome to Carolina Sculpture Studio. My name's Clint Button and I'm a granite sculptor. Okay, I've got a little project to do here. Came in the other day. It's already got all the sandblast wrapped up on it. And they want me to add a small dove here on the back. An oval niche under the name. So we'll go through and do a quick video on this. This is a project that normally would take about a day. You just coming in and just carve it, just direct. You wouldn't do any kind of a model or anything like that. But I've gotten into the habit of doing clay for everything, so I'll sketch up clay real quick just to have it and figure it out. Obviously the picture they sent is probably die grinder, probably Chinese, and not very involved. It's guess you could probably do a prettier dove than that, so they just want me to do a nice dove. Carving will be about an inch deep. Roughly it's an 8 by 10 niche, and probably be 3/4 of an inch to an inch deep. And I'll end up, this niche here is very shallow. In this original one there's no immediate drop to go to depth, and so in order to pick that up and make it, doing a really shallow niche can actually be more of a challenge than doing one that's just going half an inch or something like that is pretty short. So we'll lay this down, lay it out, and do some carving. So sit back and relax. Started working on the clay, doing the bat. Thought I'd take some pictures, a little bit of video here just to show. It's pretty rough right now. This is small. I didn't cut blocks to put the core in, just wedged some clay in there. But this gives you an idea on the order that it's produced. Because first I made a square, straight edge, and then I'm tipping it, I'm breaking it with a 45. And now I'll go back in and I'll blend here and here, so the transition is good. But I want to have a pretty square drop from the face of the die or the model, this maquette, straight down in to produce that separation. On the original job, they just did a shallow, very shallow bevel. There's almost no angle. There's no square drop. So this is pretty shallow, but even with a square drop, it would make this pop out a lot more. So, but this is a quick wedge up of the clay. Like I said, normally this isn't something you do. This is more of a how-to, do a simple job. And for people that are just starting, doing it in clay it just makes sense. So I'm gonna clean all this up. I'll scrape the ground, work the transition, and get this all dressed up and get ready to start. This is an inch and a half. This is just a plain piece of 2x that I split in half, bring them along so they could overlap and use them again. If anything happens on your carving job, you're going to go deeper. You're not going to go less deep to get the detail. You'll sink a little bit more to grab a little more detail. So this may be a little bit deeper than I need it to be. It's easier to build the background up half or a 1/4 inch and have it around an inch deep than it is to worry about sawing everything to perfection. And that's the way it works. So keep working clay. Clay's pretty well roughed in. Now we'll just stick a dove in there. Not too worried about making it perfect. This is just a quick sketch. So, but most of the work to smooth it done with a couple of tools. I cut up a little saw blade to make a scraper. Made a few different shapes and use them a lot. They're really handy. It's just one of these induction hardened blades, and once the teeth are boogered on them, you can't sharpen them. So just cut it up, shaped it. Works really well. Getting this bird wedged up. Now, this is a stylized job, and it's important to understand when someone sends you a stylized image and say we want a dove, and this is what they pick out, this is what they're thinking about. Now I can go to great lengths to make the anatomy perfect and the right number of feathers and everything, and I may miss the mark. It's better to improve on the motif that they've sent. I can make it look like a better dove than that, but not to make it look like a real living bird that's in there, because sometimes the customers have just got it in their mind. They've got this cartooned image of, like when I did the lamb in cross, they wanted a cartooned lamb. They wanted it to be somewhat like a stuffed animal, a cute little lamb, like a cartoon. They didn't want it to be a natural lamb that looked alive, like I did with the bunnies, where they looked like real bunnies. So the lamb's a little interpreted or contrived or whatever, but that's what the customer wanted. And since this is what the patron sent, I'll improve on that theme, make it look like a dove, but not correct it completely. So it's coming along. Still got a lot of fine tuning, just slamming clay in there right now. We've made some good progress on the dove. Turn the fan off. The fan is pretty noisy in the other ones. Now there's a lot of detail in here that's relevant. They've got some nice shape to the dove, and they've got the flow in the fan that's typical of a dove's tail. At least the doves like this. We've got a lot of mourning doves around here, so we see a lot of doves flying. Head's a little wonky. Back wing is kind of oversized, but I've got to mimic this. And so I tried to make the dove look more natural, actually having a longer body, and then try to develop a little bit of volume back here where its thigh and drumstick and everything would be. Still have the same curved tail. I tweaked the wing a little bit so the back wing is a little more elegant, and try to make this wing look good, because this is a focal point. People are going to look at that and going to go, it's a bird, and they're going to look at this, and then they're going to consider that it's probably a dove because of the tail and where the head shape. So pretty close to wrapped up with the clay. Do a little bit more on the back wing, and then this will just be used as a visual guide to lay out the carving. But it's important to not fix it too much. I talk about how a chef often ruins grandma's recipe because they fix everything. Grandma didn't fix it perfect. She fixed it the way she fixed it. And if you change those things, you can run into trouble. So I want to improve on this design. And I think I have. I think this is a better looking bird. It may not be quite as deep on the stone. This is right at full depth. This is about 1.5 inches, 1.25 inches, so it'll probably be about 1 inch deep, so I've got nice depth. But it's important to understand this is going to be viewed from up high, because it's very low on the die, so it's going to just be maybe a foot and a half off the ground to the top of the niche. So I have to clean everything up really well from the top, the back of the wing in here, everything I relieve in there and take away, I got to clean all that up so it looks good from the top. And so that's the goal. Now, one other thing I'll bring up, whenever you're modeling or carving something in relief like this, it's important to look at it from different perspectives, because from here it's flattened, but it still looks like a dove. Things are relatively, they're in the correct orientation, the correct plane. A lot of times you'll carve something and it'll look pretty good from one perspective, or maybe even two, and then you look at it from another perspective and it'll just look crazy. Profiles and faces are a big issue there. A lot of times you'll have a pretty profile, but you look at it from the side and the face will almost look like it's a dog face boy or something, with a nose more like a snout projecting. It means you got a problem with your overall form and you need to fix it before you carve it like that, because there's a lot of carvings out there. They'll look fine from one point of view, but if it's going to be three-dimensional and not a drawing, it needs to look good from several points of view. And even though this is foreshortened and flattened like it has to be, it actually looks pretty well resolved in the round. So we'll tweak it a little more, and it's time to start carving. Okay, I'm done with the clay. Hopefully you can see one of the techniques that we use as a rule is that the high detail on any bas relief carving needs to be flush with the surface plane. And so what I've done since the last thing, this nice thing about playing with clay is you can tweak things. Instead of having the head back, I rotated it just a little bit, so now the tip of the beak, and hopefully if I'll do it just right, the tip of the forehead, those will be high points, and those will be flush with the plane of the die, the face plane. So will the tip of this wing. I added maybe a 1/4 inch to this wing, and then this would be behind the wing, so it's back a little bit. The chest is also a little bit higher, added a little bit of volume in here because that's the big muscle. Doves fly fast, so they've got big breast muscles. And so to have that volume there that swells just a little bit from the tip of that wing helps convey the volume that you'd find on a dove. So now that it's rotated, the dove looks even more like it's coming out of the stone. See how that looks? Underneath the beak is still well supported, and I should be able to support it very well here through the carving process and then leave ample support. So this is just trimmed off and cut straight down so that this is very durable. I mean, it's stone, but it should still be pretty durable and not at risk. And then we'll have a stone that's got a dove that really looks great. That's the whole point. We want it to look like it's coming out of the stone. We want it to look very voluminous and have a lot of volume. You can see how much that picks up light. And so that's what we want to do. So pretty happy, little sketch, but this is how you do good work. You work everything out beforehand. You can practice in the stone and just wing it. No pun intended, but it may not come out quite as nice as if you'd done a careful job of carving after you'd modeled it and sketched it in clay and worked out all of these puzzles, so you've got everything worked out instead of just going from a 2D drawing and just carving it. So that's just the way you do better work. So it's up to you. But pretty happy with the dove. So on to the next step. We're going to wrap this video up. We're getting to the 15+ minute point, and I don't want to get it too long, so we'll just do a separate video for this one with the clay, and then start on the stone with the next video. But we'll start the carving again real soon. And it's pretty happy with the dove. We've got a lot of volume, got everything brought up to level so that we've got it. Some details of the relief are even with the face of the die, which is what we want. The puzzles are worked out, ready to just use it as a visual reference, and then I'll probably cast it in plaster and hang it on the wall later to go with the rest of the models in the portfolio. So once again, my name's Clint Button. I'm a granite sculptor here at Carolina Sculpture Studio, going over how to do a simple sketch model to work out your details before you start carving in stone. This will be direct carve, it won't be pointed, but the clay just gives you a little bit of rehearsal so you can do a better job. Glad to have you watching the videos, really appreciate it, and thanks for coming in.